there! I hope everyone's having a good start to their week. I mentioned in my announcement to the class yesterday that I wanted to touch base with you guys face to face about the ethics paper feedback, and you should have already seen on Blackboard that you can view your grade. You should also be able to see my feedback that I wrote within the Grade Center. It's maybe like a little paragraph kind of explaining what I thought the strengths and the weaknesses of the paper were. And then also within the paper, you should be able to view my comments. I did some highlighting, and typically where I have highlighting, there will be a comment. In some places, if I'd already made a comment and I was just highlighting a recurring theme within the paper that you might kind of intuit was something I'd mentioned earlier, I just did a highlight. Anyhow, so you'll see those in the paper as well. So if you're having trouble viewing any or all of that feedback, please let me know so I can try to ensure that you're getting my feedback earlier in the semester so that we don't have, bigger issues down the road. I wanted to touch base because I think I said most of that within the email, but I did want to touch base about citations and APA formatting. I want to be really clear, and I'm hoping I can do this verbally with you guys, but I made some notes in people's papers. This was not an issue that everybody had. However, it was a pretty prevalent issue among all the papers I received. So I wanted to mention it to everybody because I think everyone can benefit from this conversation. But I want you guys to remember when it comes to citing other people's work, if I'm reading a book, say, for example, I'm reading the Jansen textbook, and that's informing me as I go to write this ethics paper because I'm gleaning, information about relativism and utilitarianism, and I'm bringing that into the paper. I might not be using Jansen's words, but I'm using the ideas. So the idea there is that you're going to credit Jansen because he informed your writing in that area. And in that case, you just write whatever you're going to write. You'd have a parenthetical citation that would include Jansen and the year. So Jansen 2018 or whatever the year is. And then close the parentheses, period. If, on the other hand, if I'm reading Jansen and I find some particular passage that he said so compelling that I think that I want to take that exact quotation and plug that into my paper, because I can't possibly paraphrase it and still get the same meaning out of it, then you're going to use quotation marks around that content, actual quotation marks in your paper. And behind the direct quotation that, is closed off, begun and closed with quotation marks, you're going to have the parenthetical citation again, but this will be distinct because it'll have the author's name, the year, and also the page number. And that's to indicate where that actual quote came from in the text. So someone could pick up the text, open it to that page, and see the actual material that you quoted. Does that make sense? I wish I could see your faces and see the look of, yeah, perfect. Anyhow, the limitations of online. I wanted to kind of just take a moment to break that down in the hopes that that makes more sense, because it is a really serious issue. If you all are using other people's words and not providing proper citations behind those, especially if we're not using quotation marks where you've actually taken other people's words, that's technically plagiarism. I mean, that is plagiarism. And I don't believe that anyone in this class is attempting to plagiarize other people's work. I don't think that's the intention. So for your all's sake, and for my sake, because I don't want to be in that situation where I have to decide whether to report something, nobody wants to do that. Please be very careful when it comes to citing your work. And just a looser issue that is not, so rigid as in terms of plagiarism. However, I also want to encourage you guys, unless you actually feel that that direct material needs to appear in your paper because you can't paraphrase it, and it's going to lose its effect, it's going to lose its impact when you paraphrase it, so you want to use that material, those situations are okay. Otherwise, I'd really like to hear from you guys. I don't really care so much about what Jansen says. I mean, of course, it's a helpful text, but I'd much rather hear your thoughts about what you're reading in that book. So, when possible, particularly in this class, but just as a general rule, when you're writing, it's about your ideas, and I'd love to hear your ideas. So just remember that as you're addressing, the prompts in these papers. I think it'll typically serve you well to try to avoid using direct quotations. Of course, there'll be instances where that's useful, that's fine, but don't have that be your writing style, because that's somebody else's writing style, not your writing style. And I want to hear from you guys, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from you guys. So we have another upcoming deadline for the policy paper on Wednesday evening. I hope I'm getting that right. Wednesday, February 14th. I hope I'm not going to confuse anybody anymore this semester. I apologize for my email I sent out that was intended for my other class. It was really embarrassing. Anyhow, I'm looking forward to reading your papers that you submit February 14th, I believe Wednesday. We'll have a happy Valentine's Day and submit our policy papers. And if you have any questions between now and then, feel free to reach out. I'm always around. And thanks. Talk to you again soon. Bye.